episode 5 of BARREE and JOHNO. G'day Barry, how are you?
Good, Johnno, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks mate. Okay guys, so today's episode is going to be centering around the cardiovascular system. So we're looking at the efficiency of the heart and the lungs to distribute blood and oxygen throughout the body. At differing intensities, some people will get adaptations depending on if they're a beginner or an advanced client. So your beginner clients will have to start at lower intensities, and your more advanced clients will have to work a lot harder to create their adaptations. The other thing we'll be looking at with this system as well is being able to build an endurance base. And that is making sure that we can work continuously for a certain period of time to create that adaptation. Okay, now we're going to actually start the cardio training session. I have one of my new clients with me today who we're going to train. Her name's Susie. Susie is a beginner, so we need to build up that endurance base for her. Susie, would you like to meet everyone? Everyone, this is my new client, Susie. Hey Susie, how are you?
G'day, Johnno.
G'day, Johnno, how are you?
Good, very well. Listen, we're going to train now. Have you warmed up? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm all warmed up, ready to go. Really excited, Johnno. This
Good.
is going to be great.
Good. Well, as you're a beginner, you haven't done a lot, today's just going to be a walking session. So shall we go?
Absolutely, let's go.
All right, let's go. See you soon.
Viewers, Johnno's right when he talks about building an endurance base. That is the first part we've got to consider. We've got to build that foundation so we can build our exercise or our new fit body on top of a good solid foundation. And the way we're going to do that is through long, slow distance or LSD training. Okay, but before we talk about that, I need to talk to you quickly about what we call in the fitness industry the FIT principle. F stands for frequency, I stands for intensity, T stands for time, and the other T stands for type. Okay, let's talk about the F, frequency. Frequency is how many times per week do you need to train to see any real results? And the answer to that question is at about 2 to 3 times per week we need to be exercising for. There's a lot of people out there who'll do 4 or 5 or 6, but they've got a foundation already and they're able to do that. But we don't want to go out too hard, too quick and do too much and find ourselves we can't sustain it. So let's cut back to Susie and Johnno and see how many times per week they're training.
Okay, Susie, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm pretty tired.
Are you going okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay though.
All right, well this is expected at least 3 times a week. We need that frequency to be 3 times a week. You okay with that?
Yeah, I think it'll be tough, but I think I'll be okay, Johnno.
Good, all right, let's get moving.
Great work, Johnno and Susie. In 6 to 8 weeks' time, at 2 to 3 times per week, you'll be seeing some good results. Okay, the next letter in the FIT principle is the I. I stands for intensity. So that means how intense should we be working so that we can see any results? Well, we have to provide a stimulus to the body or some type of stress. Okay, now it doesn't want to be too much, but it can't be too little either. So the question is, how much? Well, a good way to look at it is around about 50 to 70% of your maximum. Okay, so we can look at that in 2 ways. Number 1 is what we call RPE, rate of perceived exertion, which is basically how we're feeling. Okay, so we looked at the number 1 meaning we're rested, and the number 10 meaning we're flat out, 100%, can't do any more. We want to be in the middle of that, so about number 5. So if I'm running along down the beach and I think, gee, I'm feeling about a 5. Okay, 5 out of 10, halfway. That means that's great. That's my bottom level. My top level is a 7 out of 10. Okay, so if I'm running along down the beach or wherever I might be running, okay, if I think, gee, this is moderate intensity, I wouldn't want to go much harder. Any harder than this, I wouldn't be able to maintain a conversation, but I'm a bit huffy and puffy. That's great. We're right at that target rate. So that's RPE, how you're feeling. The other way we can look at it is with our heart rate. Okay, our heart rate, we all know our heart rate beats, so many times per minute. Okay, we can use that as an indicator for intensity. But first of all, we need to know what our maximum heart rate is. Now, we can do that through a maximal heart rate test, but that would be putting too much stress on the body for most people. That's something athletes do. So we need an estimated maximal heart rate. And the formula for that is 220 minus your age will equal your maximal heart rate. Okay, so for example, if you were 40 years old, 40 from 220 would equal 180. So therefore, your maximal heart rate would be 180 beats per minute, estimated. It's not perfect, but it's what we've got to work with. Okay, so we don't want to work at our maximal intensity. We can't maintain maximal intensity for a period of time. We want to be working at 50% of maximum, which would be 180, so half of that would be 90. And 70% would be around about 140. So if we put a heart rate monitor on around our chest with the watch, you can buy them at most sports stores, or a Fitbit also works. Anything that will tell you your heart rate, you can use that as an indicator. So you're running along, and your heart rate's between 90 and 140. You're right in that target zone. Anything less than 90, probably not enough stimulus. Anything more than 140 is probably a little bit too much. Okay, so you want to keep it in that target zone to get the optimal intensity for when you're training. So two ways, RPE and using your heart rate. Let's go back to Susie and see how she...
Anyway, Johnno, all she does is talk crap. She just goes on and on and on and on and on. And you know what?
It's pretty light intensity.
I'm trying to bring the kids up well. I'm doing my best as a mother. And then there's Johnno, my husband.
Very
he comes
easy.
home late at night and he drinks and he expects me
Just
to do
too
all
easy.
the work around
Too
the
light.
place. You know what
Not
I'm
enough
saying, Johnno?
room.
You know what I'm saying? Life is hard.
How you going, Susie? You feeling okay?
Yeah, John, I'm feeling pretty good actually. I think I'll take the pace up a little bit. I'm
Really?
just going to speed it up a bit.
Are you
Okay,
sure
I'm
you
off.
can?
I'm heading off.
Okay, Susie, it's too hard. It's too hard. Susie, are you okay?
I think I overdid it, John.
I think
I did too much.
you went. The intensity was way too hard. Are you going to survive? Do I need to call an ambulance?
No, I'm okay, I think.
Right, so that's a lesson learned. You went too hard. You can't build that base going that hard.
Okay, let's do it right then, John.
All right, let's do it properly. How's this pace, Susie, now?
Oh, that's much better, John. Much better. I'm a
All
little
right.
bit huffy and puffy, but you know, I think I can manage.
Good. You think you can get that 20 minutes out?
Yeah, I think I can go for 20 minutes like this.
All right.
This is great.
Fantastic. As long as there's effort.
Yeah, there's
Good.
effort.
All right, we're awake.
Let's look at the next letter of the acronym, and that would be T for time. Time means how long should you exercise for each time you go out and do a training session? Well, the answer to that is, for building an endurance base, you need at least 20 to 30 minutes at a minimum, and probably no more than 60 minutes at a maximum, because we don't want to do too much at once. We want to be able to sustain it, like I said before, and we don't want to do too little. Okay, so the optimal amount is 20 minutes to 60 minutes, and anywhere in between that. That's the ideal time. So let's go back to Susie and see how long she's been going for.
All right, Susie, how are you feeling after our session?
Oh, yeah, that was great, John. I really had a good time, good session.
Good. You felt like there was effort. You worked hard.
Yeah, worked hard.
Good. Good. So that was a half an hour fast-paced walk we did. That's got to be your minimum, 20 to 30 minutes, but no more than an hour to start. How does
Okay.
that feel? You think you'll be fine for that?
Yeah, John, I can manage that.
Good. Well done, Susie. Great session today.
Thanks, John.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Wow, you've got to love Susie, don't you? Well, thanks, Jono, that's great. Okay, the last letter in the acronym FIT is the second T, which stands for type. And in order to build an endurance base, we've got to know what type of exercise we should be doing. Well, that's simple, really. Any type of exercise that you can maintain at a steady state continuously for that 20 to 60 minutes. So, anything like push-ups or squats or pressing weights would be too much. You wouldn't be able to do that for 20 minutes. So, we're looking at exercises like running, walking or jogging, whether it be on a treadmill or whether it be outdoors on a track somewhere, or swimming is a good option, or cycling is a good option, and also rowing is a good option. Those types of activities are ideal for building the aerobic or endurance base.
Now it's time to start the cardiovascular session. I have one of my new clients here who needs to build her endurance base up because she's a beginner, and we're going to do the training session with her. So I'm going to introduce you to Susie. Susie, come and meet the crew. How you going, Susie?
Good, Jono. How are you?
I mean, good, Johnno. How are you?